This is my 2008 Suzuki SV650. I have 70,000 miles on this. Had it for just over 10 years. This is the walk around. One of the first upgrades I made was I increased the windshield to a luminar lip, and it gives me about 3 to 4 inches rise over the original. It gets all the wind basically off my chest and hits me about the bottom of my helmet. Here I also have the Throttle Rocker. Great for long distances where you can just rest your wrists on top of the throttle, and it keeps everything pretty loose. It makes it nice and comfortable. As you can see on the bark buzzers, I have dropped the bike. Usually it's in a parking lot or very low speed drops. One time I skidded out on a gravel road and went down very slow, maybe about 10 miles an hour. That's another modification I did. I had some auxiliary lights from, of all things, banggood.com. These lights were $14 a piece, $28 total. With it, I installed a switch here. I could throttle on and off, high beam, low beam. Here's the high beam. Low beam and flashing. The modification are these frame sliders. They're about 5 inches, which is perfect because anything shorter than that and it's going to hit the radiator here. So I found that this also has protected my bike and parts from major damage if I just dropped it, which I have. And it shows a little closer here where it went down. Modification for long distance riding or just plain comfort for over a few hours is this sheepskin I purchased. It attaches by clips here. And this is also an aftermarket Suzuki gel seat, which raises the seating about an inch. So this has given me a little more room as far as leg room, and it's been very comfortable. I can travel on this for over 10 hours. I've traveled over 600 miles on this setup. It just puts back down here and just puts right back on there. Another modification is the Super Sprocket, and I increased the diameter by 3 teeth, which has given me a little more low end. You also see another frame slider right below that there. I like the power that this produces. A lot more mid-range. Yes, you lose a little bit on the top end, but you know, hey, I don't go over 120 miles an hour anyway. So this is giving me much better torque, much better mid-range, low end, and at the same time it did lower my gas mileage from 55 miles per gallon to 50. And this is riding it moderately aggressively. Favorite tires I've had since I had this bike are the Michelin Road Pilot 4s. Another thing I added was a voltmeter on it, as you know, it gives me my reading, make sure everything is above 12.7. This way I know that when I have my accessories on, and on it is this little USB ports to charge up my phone and my GoPro camera. Also have mountings for my GoPro here, as well as a RAM mount for my phone. I carry a backpack. I have my little Joe Rocket magnetic tank bag, and back here I also have a tail bag, which I can carry everything for a full day. I do have the original rear shocks. I have done maintenance on my forks. I replaced the fork seals and I also had my steering head bearings replaced at 60,000, and also I increased the viscosity of the fork oil by 5 weight, so it has a 10 weight oil. Placed the horn for Aftermarket, fairly cheap. I believe it was under 20 bucks. Pretty loud, much better than stock. This baffle is removable. I unscrewed it. It comes right out here. Let's see it right here. There is a sound difference. There's also a little torque difference as well. I believe that it gets a little bit more top end with the baffle removed, but I like it with the baffle installed because I believe it needs the back pressure to, otherwise it runs a little too lean. I will do exhaust sound check for you, and you can see the difference. Here we have SV650 I had for 10 years and 70,000 miles. The handling is fantastic, great mid-range, and it's even better now that I changed the rear sprocket to a bigger sprocket, giving me more mid-range of torque. I rode my friend's Yamaha FC700. That was a fun bike to ride. Only difference is it seems a little shorter in the cockpit, a little twitchier. I like the stability of the SV more so than the Yamaha FC700, mainly because it probably has it does have a longer swing arm, which will give it more stability. Reliability, hey, 10 years, 70,000 miles. I've done 90% of all the maintenance, oil changes, maintenance on the chain. I didn't do the steering head bearings. I didn't have the equipment for that. Nor did I do the fork oil change, which went from a 5 weight to a 10 weight to have a little more dampening. I didn't change the rear shock, which would probably give it better handling, but I'm 165 pounds and the bike is just perfect for my weight and size. I'm 5'10", and this bike is all I ever needed. I owned several bikes in the past, even the BMW RS 100, Honda CB 750, a Honda Ascot 500, V-twin with shaft drive, which this is very much like, except this bike is a lot more stable, a lot more power. Shaft drive is nice and you have to do maintenance on it, but this bike is probably the best bike I ever had. And based on long distance and all, I could literally stay on the bike for 10 hours, be very comfortable with the sheepskin seat cover and also the gel seat, the aftermarket gel seat from Suzuki. That was a big addition that made the comfort very, very nice. I traveled from overnighters to 2 weeks, 500 plus miles per day, up to 12 hours a day. I've ridden through rain, sandstorms, freezing temperatures to 113-degree heat in Death Valley. 600-mile days to 3,000-mile trips. This bike is the best for everything. It's the best handling bike for most roads. It's stable at 100 miles an hour. Plus, at walking speeds, no problem. must say that overall, not only being the best bike I ever owned, it's light. I can take it off-road for mild off-road, gravel roads, dirt roads, you know, nothing too technical, but I can take it off-road with no problem, and on street tires as well. I've taken it to Death Valley on Titus Road, and that's, you know, that's a four-wheel drive road. It was a little hairy in some sections, but the bike handled just fine, just the way it was. I can do a lot of traveling on this bike based on 4.1 gallons. With a lot of my modifications and all, I get about 50 miles a gallon, although in Death Valley, because we were going slower and all, and on dirt roads, I was getting 60 miles a gallon. So that's not bad for what it is. It had plenty of power, plenty of passing power. The only negative I would say is it's not very good for two-up riding. The engine just doesn't have the power. But beyond that, this is like the perfect bike for me.